Got that quarantine hair going on. A few weeks ago, I showed you guys my MR2 that I've been working on for 3 years now. In this video, I'm going to start the process of molding the lip to the bumper. I've got everything to start the process of gluing the lip to the bumper. The problem with doing this is it's most likely going to crack eventually. When you have 90s plastic with fiberglass glued to each other, the expansion rates are different, so it's going to crack eventually. So I'm going to try to prolong that as long as possible. So I've got the factory aluminum strips that go on top. I think there are some that go on the lip side of the bumper too, but I don't have those. I've got the ones that go on top, and I'm going to be straightening also and drilling more holes in them to put more bolts in them. More clamping force, more bolts distributed throughout the whole front of the bumper, so that'll hopefully keep it from cracking. I'm also going to try to put the bolts as far forward as I can, just to keep these two pieces from separating once they're glued together and bodyworked and painted. Got these. I've got my panel bone to glue the two together. I've got more bolts. Yeah, let's get started. So I got this aftermarket lip. The fit on it is not the best. I don't know if you can tell how far off that gap is, but it's also kind of even worse on this side. Yeah, you can see that. That is pretty bad. So I'm gonna have to trim this back a little bit so that these two body lines line up a little bit better. It's also not really that big of a deal since I'm going to be molding it anyway. So I'm gonna have to trim it on both sides. Definitely say that's better than it was. On the next part, which will be straightening this aluminum piece. It's bent. Alright, now that these holes are drilled and still don't have enough bolts for them, I will put them back on the bumper, mark them on the bumper and the lip, and drill more holes in mainly the lip, because if you can see, the bumper kind of juts in or juts out where each bolt is, so I'll probably just be clearancing these areas for a bolt to go through. It'll still clamp on it. The piece of aluminum will still grab that a little bit, but the bolt's not going to go through it. It'll go through the lip though. So right now I just have the lip clamped to the bumper. I have it pushed back just a little bit because if I bring it forward, I'll have more of a gap to fill. With these two body lines lined up-ish, look at that. I don't have any experience with aftermarket fiberglass or lips for Japanese cars. This is not an eBay lip by any means. This is actually from a reputable MR2 guy. Man, like both sides, and I had to trim it too, so those line up a little bit better. But if I was just bolting this on, I would not be happy with how it fit. Okay, now that I have all my SD cards fixed. Alright, so I have the aluminum pieces straightened, I have the holes drilled in them, I have the holes drilled in the front lip. I'm going to mock everything up with the bolts I have and make sure I don't want to change anything. Then after that I will sand them down with some 80 grit with the DA and start prepping them to glue them together. Just realized I'm going to need to go get more bolts before I do that. Alright, I've got I've got all the bolts that I have in. Need to go run and get some more, but that's pretty dang close. Not going to be bad. It's off a little bit. There's a little bit of a gap because I didn't tighten the bolts. They're just finger tight. So once they get cranked down, it'll be alright. Sides fit really good. So we'll go get more bolts and prep it to glue it together. Got my DA and my 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going to sand the surface of the lip and the bumper where they both join. I'm going to sand all up in here, also up underneath here, the edges, everything, so that if any panel bond oozes over, I'm also going to glue the crap out of it. So if any panel bond oozes over or gets on that, it won't break off. It will hold strong. That's about it. I've got all my bolts. Went and got all my bolts for the whole front bumper. So figure it out. Everything is sanded and wiped down with acetone. I'm ready to put the panel bond on, which the panel bond is 3M panel bond, 2-part adhesive, you could call it. This stuff stays it doesn't get super hard, so it will allow for some flexibility between the bumper and the lip. That is why I decided to choose panel bond instead of any other kind of adhesive. So I'm going to squirt the panel bond on, squirt it on the lip, just this surface, and then I'm going to quickly put the bumper on and get all the bolts through it and tighten down as fast as I can before the panel bond, hopefully before the panel bond has a chance to set up. And then once I get all the bolts tight, I'm going to come back through and squirt more on both the front and back edge of bumper just to make it as strong as possible. If any oozes out, I'm going to leave it for the strength till it hardens. Then I'll sand it smooth and then body work it from there. I get all my bolts organized and do this as fast as I can. All the bolts are tight. Well, not all the bolts. I couldn't get these two, which I'll try to get them better. If I can, I'll just take them out. Once I do that, I'm gonna put more panel bond in this gap right here, front and back, and really load it up as much strength as possible. Now, alright, so it's done for now and drying. Looks messy, but it'll all get sanded smooth. It is glued together, it's bolted together, it's glued together. So it should hold pretty good. I know it looks bad right now. It looks messy. It is messy. I'm a mess. All over my hands and my shirt. But it will hopefully be one piece for a long period of time. No cracks. I'm going to do the same thing to these, except I'm going to keep these lines just so that they're glued in one piece and they don't poke out like that. It's all bolted and glued. I took out those two bolts because I couldn't get them through, so I just clamped them, glued them and clamped them. But other than that, all the bolts are in and tight. So let that dry overnight and move on to the rear bumper. The rear bumper, you can see those two black pieces just go on each corner. Now I'm just going to mold those to the corners. So that's it for today in this video. I'm going to do the rear bumper another day because I don't have enough bolts for it. I don't want to make a third trip to Home Depot today. So I'll probably work on that tomorrow, but that's the best way I figured out how to mold a bumper, which you'll see me bodywork it in a later video, but that's just combining the two pieces. Hopefully we'll be getting back to the track soon, so I will have more drifting videos. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next working on the MR2 video.